A very good evening to all of you. I, Ritu Jain from Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog, welcome all of you in season 3 of the Knowledge Hub series. Today, we are streaming the first episode of the season, and Knowledge Hub sessions are basically designed to supplement the efforts of mentors in building the technical capacity of the ETL ecosystem. All the teachers, students, and other fellow mentors can leverage these sessions. Yesterday, we launched our Tinkerpreneur 2025 series in collaboration with Intel, and the theme is AI. So, parallel to our Knowledge Hub sessions, we are also hosting live technical sessions to supplement the efforts of students to participate in the Tinkerpreneur 2025. Just a second. Yeah. So Knowledge Hub and mentoring hour will be starting next week. So both of these sessions are targeted to complement the engagement of ETL initiatives like Tinkerpreneur and soon to be launched School Innovation Marathon. So for our first episode of the season, we have with us Mr. Girish Sankar, a seasoned management consultant, mentor, and strategic advisor with decades of experience in organizational growth, process management, and entrepreneurship. He has worked extensively across industries, enabling startups and innovators to scale up with clarity and purpose. In today's session, titled Demystifying the Entrepreneurial Journey, Essential Mindset for the Future Innovator, Mr. Chris Sagar will walk us through the core competencies and mental frameworks that aspired entrepreneurs must develop to thrive in the innovation ecosystem. So, please join me in welcoming Mr. Girish Sagar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Riddhi. Thank you for the nice introduction. I will first read out the title of this entrepreneurship, Demystifying the Entrepreneur Journey. Now, the word demystifying is a very, very important to me. My presentation, my talk will be basically in two levels. One will be more on the demystifying, and then second will be uh, uh, focusing on the conventional definitions of entrepreneurships. I mean, if you join a course on entrepreneurship, you will be going through a very conventional, conservative way of and that is very, very important. That kind of creates the foundation. But what I will also try to do is kind of demystifying this thing. So first few minutes of my talk will be on this word demystification. uh, I used to, when I was heading the product supply for Biocrop Science in India, I had to visit my factories and talk to a lot of people. And I used to jokingly say, because I wanted always entrepreneurship in the way we are doing things, because that's the way things really improve. So I used to say that the only thing difficult about entrepreneurship is its spelling, because you do not know where the e's, how many e's are coming and how many u's are there. There's so many vowels in that particular word. It's coming from French, and French always make life quite difficult as far as the English is concerned. So why I think entrepreneurship is not something very complicated subject and things like that. I remember one quotation from one of the greats. I don't remember the name. He said, "Problem with mankind is twofold. One is it does not understand things which are complicated, and it forgets things which are very simple." According to me, entrepreneurship comes into the second category. It's very, very simple. If you really read the history of mankind, right from the Stone Age, Copper Age, Iron Age, and whatever, you will all find that there were always inflection points where things suddenly started changing. If you want to read something of this type, there is a book by Bill Bryson, a very nice book called Short History of Almost Everything. And here, there he develop, he is going through all the ages and really showing how things really suddenly change. And why did it change? Because somebody asked a question. The point that I'm trying to make is something like this: the seed of entrepreneurship is in our DNA. It's part of our DNA, it's a part of mankind. If there is no seed, whatever you do, there will be no tree. There is a seed, but the seed fructifies or begins a tree when a proper nurturing is done, proper conditioning is done. You put water, you put fertilizer, and so on and so forth. So that seed is there. So the basic necessary condition is already done. The seed is a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient. We need to have the proper ecosystem for that seed to become a tree. So this is important to understand, that it's within us. And why I say it is within us? Because the fundamental objective of the entrepreneurship is to make life easy, make life better. This is the fundamental, and we are all always trying to, all this, the whole life is striving for making it easier, making it better. So this is the driver for entrepreneurship, and this is there in all of us. Now, having said that, what is that ecosystem that we are talking which should be different? As I told you, if you see the development of the mankind, you will see there were always inflection point. Things were going normally and then suddenly it changed. Now, this sudden change is because of what is called lateral thinking. People did all that in the past without knowing what lateral thinking is. Lateral thinking is a word that was coined by Edward de Bono in 1960, and he has written a beautiful book on lateral thinking. And there are a lot of books then he later on wrote, which are great help for us in, in the management, how to kind of think differently. And there are a lot of examples of lateral thinking, very simple examples, I remember one, um, where the question is asked, there is a room and there are three light switches outside the room, and you have to identify which switch is belonging to which light, but you are allowed to go only once in the room. And there is a way of doing it, and this can only be done when you do a little bit of different thinking than a linear thinking. What is a linear thinking? Linear thinking is that you pick up the past trends and extrapolate them. You see the and that is also important. Don't underestimate the linear thinking, because, for example, if we look at our numbers which are published by the government, by the Department of Statistics, GDP growth, CPI, there are always projections based on the trends which are there. So these projections are very, very necessary. The linear thinking is necessary, but linear thinking only can improve things linearly and slowly, whereas lateral thinking can really give you a boost to make the thing change. Edward de Bono, who, as I said, was the godfather of lateral thinking, was a consultant to top 10 Fortune 500 companies. And he really, he never used to growth. He never used to talk in terms of single digit. He used to talk higher double digits, and he did that. And he did that not by he doing it. He did that through the people who were able to only get a growth of, let's say, 7 8% or maybe 10%. What he did, he mentored them, he made them, he helped them think little differently. So now this, what I'm talking about, lateral thinking, is basically comprising of a few things. uh, there are important things to know how we can develop this lateral thinking. I remember once Mukesh Ambani, in his annual AGM meeting, he said there are three types of people: people who make things change or things happen, people who adapt to the change, and third, people who just say what happened. So basically, three categories: people who make things happen, people who adapt to the things that happen, and people who say what happened. Now, what happened type of people are we are not talking about. We are talking about the people who make things happen. So that's the mindset. You are always looking for something to change. And how do you do that? How do you do that? You do that by challenging the status quo. I, when I'm now almost 70, and I remember I grew up in a family which was not well to do, and joint family, and we used to play and outside on the road without shoes, without chappals and whatnot. I remember when we wanted to play some ball, there were no balls, so we used to use the rags, take something wooden, make a rag, and then play with it. So at a very simple and primary level, this is basically kind of an innovation. So basically what it shows is that even if resources are not available, you make things do differently. There is no ball available, but you create a ball in a different way. This is what we this is the type of thinking. And why it comes, there was an urge to play. We wanted to play together. There was urge to play. So when I say that entrepreneurship is within our DNA, what I mean is that we, all of us, want to make our life easier and better. That drive is always there. So first thing that we have to keep in mind in demystifying this is entrepreneurship is very simple. Basically, it is making a drive or intention to make things better for us, better for society, and so that's the first thing that we have to say. Second thing that we have to understand and we have to be is to improve our understanding of the things, understanding of the world. How do we do that? By getting a little bit more and more knowledge. And you see, the knowledge is so vast. I mean, I'm a quite a big reader. I'm a follower of, uh, as I was telling Ridhi, I'm follower of Bhagavad Gita. I'm follower of Vedanta. The more I read, more I realize there is so much to learn. I follow quantum physics also, but there is so much to learn all the time. Scientists today are also continuously. They are not saying that's the end of it. I mean, if you read what has happened with the James Webb telescope, the things that they are finding in the universe, they are revisiting everything. That is called flexibility, which will be part of our one of the factors that defines entrepreneurship. So we have to have this mindset first, that I want to think change things. I will challenge the status quo, and this I can only do when I'm equipped with certain knowledge. And knowledge is something which you will never ever stop to gain. I always define death of a person as when he stops being a student. Whatever age you are learning everything. You are learning from everybody around. You learn from small kids, you learn from your teacher, you learn from your colleagues. There has to be that learning capabilities. The first, as I said, the drive to change. Second is continuous learning. And the third that is important for me is to be very observant. Observant means what? I mean, just not seeing things. I mean, it's that you understand the difference between hearing and listening. Hear things and listening things are different. Similarly, observing things is different than seeing things. So whatever happening around the world, whatever is happening around us, that we should be continuously watching. And that is where, when we talk about the conventional definition of entrepreneurship, there the word opportunity will pop up. And that opportunity, we will discuss opportunity. If you are not an observant, you will be like a person who kind of complains about noise when the opportunity knocks. We don't want to be like this. Opportunities are there all the time, everywhere. And you get over the things by challenging the status quo. You want to improve. I mean, if you look at life of some of the people we know, for example, even take our prime minister. From what background did he come? And his all initial uh, life was as a swayam sevak. So he observed things. He went everywhere throughout India. That's why he can see things, and he knows what is to be changed. So that is something that observant, as I told you, and continue picking up the knowledge and urge to change things, urge to improve things. These are the three things which probably is what our prime minister has our helped our prime minister. You look at somebody like Dhirubhai Ambani, how he started his business. It was on a bicycle. He is now, I mean, you know what Reliance is today, one of the topmost companies in the world. But he started with a bicycle. What was it that was driving him? He was always looking for opportunity, and he was going everywhere to where the opportunities are, what can be done. Even sometimes, I mean, a lot of people criticize for wrong things that probably he did in that particular period, but maybe they were necessary at that time to build the kind of company that he had. So these three things we have to keep in mind, that the entrepreneurship is nothing, no rocket science. It's very simple. It is within us. Only thing that needs is the creating ecosystem, exactly like a seed, where you nurture that seed and it grows. So this was my first part of talk on the this thing, entrepreneurship. What I will now try to do is go through a small uh, write up that I did for entrepreneurship. I picked up some of the things from the books because I wanted to be in line with what is generally taught on as an interpretation entrepreneurship in classes and schools and colleges. Let us say, what is an entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is, so I'm going now on a conventional way. Entrepreneurship is something which is done by an entrepreneur. Now, what is an entrepreneur? He is an individual who identifies opportunity. The first word that is to be kept in mind is opportunity. Develops business plan. The second word that has to be kept in mind, business plan. Takes on risks and rewards. That's the third important one, risk and reward. For starting and running a new business. That's the fourth word that is to be kept in mind, with primary goal of making profit. Making profit can also be defined as improving the things. So these are the five words which you have to keep in mind: opportunity, business plan, risk and reward, new business, and making profit or creating wealth. Now let's look at each word separately. First is opportunity. So, is that opportunity, does it come in certain shape or color or name or whatever that is? It is all, opportunities are always there, whether it's a favorable circumstances or unfavorable circumstances. Opportunities are always there. Whether there is a crisis or no crisis, opportunities are always there. Opportunity is basically is a chance to do something differently in order to improve things. uh, I mean, like, if you look at I mean, I remember my mother cooking for 20-25 people daily, in a joint family. The way she used to manage the kitchen so efficiently and effectively, she will make it things extremely easy for herself. And this is something what has to be done, that we have to find ways and means of doing things differently in order to make it more efficiently and effectively. Now, there, the attitude of optimist is very important. Optimism is very, very important. Thinking positive is very important. I mean, it's like a half empty or half full glass. How do you see that? A pessimist will say it is half empty. A optimist will say it is half full. And by the way, the society needs both optimist and pessimist. Somebody said, uh, optimist designs an aeroplane and pessimist design a parachute. I mean, you might have heard today there was a horrible incidence of crash of Air India, and I pray for the departed, the casualties there. But you see, this half full, that is extremely important to look at the things positively. If we look at the things negatively, we will never be able to see opportunities. Whatever is happening in India today, we will always see a positive thinker and negative thinker. There are some people who are always seeing fault in everything. For example, I mean, I remember when I was in Shanghai, heading my biocrop science business, I met one big guy, very big guy, consultant, and over a discussion was going on, and he was extremely critical about Swachh Bharat mission. And I asked him, I said, why are you so critical? He said, no, 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 yeah, 20% are not working, and that is why we are wasting money. I said, why don't you look at the 70% are working? 30% are not working. There were no toilets for the people, for the women. Now there are 70% toilets available. Somebody standing on Red Fort talked about such an important things in life. I mean, I remember at those days when our factory was in Thane, and I had to sometimes bring my um, uh, um, guest from Germany to the factory in the morning. The flight used to land in the morning, and in the morning when the car used to go, I used to see people sitting, squatting, and doing that bad that discharging stuff. Yeah, I used to feel so ashamed of that, and that is it was so bad. They used to sit on the culvert and all, and my German colleagues used to look at us very derisively. Somebody said this has to change, and he did it. And no job can be done perfectly. No job. I mean, we have done projects in. I mean, I was working with one of the greatest multinationals, and whatever projects we did, we always faltered. We always went. We had best of the experts. It always will happen. But are you going to focus on the negative things or focus on the positive things? We have to look at the negatives, and that's why I say pessimists are important, because those negative things help us to improve things further. We should not be critical about the things we're finding fault, because they are helping us to improve. But primary mindset that is important to have is to be positive. If you are not positive, you will never ever find an opportunity. So that's the first word on the opportunity. Business plan. Now, business plan is what? Business plan, in a conventional definition, is you try to find out return on investment, how much money you will lay, how many years it will take, how many to be profitable, and so on and so forth. This is a typical business plan, which is financial business plan. But when you look at the startups, and the startups, like if you have read Google story, yeah, uh, read the Google story. There's a book on Google story. There was no business plan. It was just an idea, and the people, two three guys who were there, and we'll come to the how they developed whatever they developed later. Uh, the two three guys were there. So this idea has to fructify, and but only thing that they needed was money. And somebody asked them, "Do you have a business plan?" I said, "No, we don't have a business plan." That somebody invested 100,000 or somebody gave them 100,000 US dollar, and that is how they started the business. Look at the way Steve Jobs developed Apple. There were no business plans. After the business is established, you make a business plan. Or in the business, the running business, if you want to start a new business, like what Ambani did in terms of getting into geo, or now they're getting into the green energy, right? There they need a business plan, because why that business plan at that time is needed? Because a Reliance has a lot of stakeholders, investors, and he cannot just say that, "Oh, I will do whatever is to be done," and investor can perish. So he needs a business plan. So business plan is contextual. Business plan is necessary, but sometimes, I have helped some startups, and right from the seed things, and I also gave money, and there was no business plan. It was just the trust and the idea that I was convinced with, and it few developed, few failed, which goes by the territory. So business plan, keep in mind, is advisable but not absolutely necessary when you are starting absolutely a new venture. Then comes to the risk and reward, and this is also very a big thing. When an entrepreneur is starting a business, actually he is not worried about the risk and reward. If he is worried about the risk and reward, he will not be an entrepreneur. But the risk and rewards are there. Risk is extremely high, and rewards are also extremely high. Look at Infosys, Narayan Murthy. When he started, what he was, and now what he is. He took They took a lot of risks. I mean, if you read the story of the first computer that he got, it took him 2 years to get an approval from the government to import a computer. 2 years. Today, you have computer on your fingertips with smartphone, and the smartphone, the amount of uh, um, um, calculation or amount of things that it can do is just unbelievable. There is a calculation on this. I remember this Android Galaxy 7, which was there in 2010 or something. That particular, its computing power, that Galaxy 7 computing power, was equal to all the computers which were deployed when first time man went to the moon. So that much changes have are taken place. So the risks and reward, they don't think at that time, but there are heavy risk. You can lose everything, and in one of the startups we lost everything, but there are also huge reward. I know one of my friends from US. He sold his company in US for huge money, 400 million US dollar, and I kind of persuaded him to invest in one of the startups that I was convinced with. And unfortunately, and it was mainly due to COVID, in the 3 years we lost a lot of things. We just kind of sunk money, but there were no revenues. Uh, so we lost money in that, and then I helped the owners to sell it to a company with a significant haircut of almost 20-30%. So I was apologizing to this fellow, this friend of mine. I said, his name is Jagdish. I said, Jagdish, I'm sorry. I persuaded to bring in money, and you put in, trusted me, but I have failed. He said, Girish, that goes by the territory. And he told me that he invests something like in 10 startups, 8 startup fail, and 2 really do well. And in the 2, he gets 10x, 15x, 20x. And he said that covers my all losses. So don't worry about it. It goes by territory. So this risk and reward are extremely high. Then next word is a new business. Whatever Mukesh Ambani is doing is entrepreneurship when he went into Geo. So when a business takes a lateral shift, it's not I'm manufacturing chemicals and I continue to manufacture chemicals. Yeah, this is also good. Like company like Bayer is doing manufacturing pharmaceutical agrochemical throughout its last 125 years. Yeah, but when it starts a new business like Dhirubhai Ambani starting, that's a new business. Or a startup, he starts a new business. And what is the primary goal of making profit? That means primary goal of creating something. You can only make profit if you create something and it sustains and it grows. So 5 things that we have to keep in mind: opportunity, business plans, risk and reward, new business, and primary goal. That defines the entrepreneurship. What is not entrepreneurship in its very conventional way? It's not doing business. Just if, as I said, if you're doing the same thing continuously, growing it, it's not entrepreneurship. Although, keep in mind, without entrepreneurial spirit, no manager in the company in a conventional way also can work. He cannot grow. You have to change. You have to make changes. You have to take risks. But in a conventional way, until it's a new business, it is not called entrepreneurship, and it's not doing a job. Again, keep in mind, even doing a job, I have done job for 35 years in multinationals, and without entrepreneurship, without this thing, it is not possible. But those, keeping the difference between doing a job and new business is, if you fail in your job, you lose, but you don't lose everything. Whereas an entrepreneur can lose everything, everything, because the risk and rewards are extremely high. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. Now, let's go to the pros and cons of entrepreneurship. What are the positives and the negative? Positive, it is very, can be very impactful to the society, to the mankind. Yeah, look at the smartphone that has been brought by Steve Jobs, Apple. Hasn't it changed our lives for good or bad, whatever you call it? The way you use it defines good or bad, because there is nothing in world, nothing in life which doesn't have dark side and positive. Nuclear energy, positive; nuclear bomb, negative; gun to defend your country is positive; gun to rob somebody is negative. So the way you use it, but it can be positively very impactful for the society. Things have changed. Like, look at what Tatas are doing. Fantastic. They have been, if you know how Tatas do business, they are basically do business to create impact on the positive impact on the society. So second thing, it is very innovative. It generally addresses the latent need of the society. What do you mean by latent need? Many times, I mean, nobody thought that smartphone is required. There is a very good story in that book, Short History of Almost Everything. He's talking about, doing a survey and all. And surveys always throw very conservative way. So at that time when the transport was only horse ride, horse going horse pulling horse cart. At that time, it was asked to the people, "What do you want?" He said, "Oh, more horses. There should be more. Instead of one, there should be two. There should be three." So it was a linear thinking. But Benz, who developed the automobile engines and not, he thought differently, and he brought it. So it has to be very innovative, and it you have to, and how it is innovative, you have to think differently to be innovative. uh, you have to also, as I said, the innovation comes through only positive thinking. In marketing, there's a story about two salesperson who go to Africa. They're representing a footwear company. The first salesman comes after there. Nobody uses footwear, so so there is no market. The second salesman, oh, nobody uses footwear. There is such a big market. Now he was addressing the latent need of the society. Those people were quite comfortable not using the footwear, but they created, I said, smartphone. There are, uh, that nowadays changes are being brought by the innovators, by the entrepreneurs. Few months back, I was driving in in India. We had gone for a long drive, and my wife was suddenly going, "Oh, there is a khadda here, yahan pe khadda hai. Oh, there is a khadda." And 2 3 times she kind of said, "Be careful." And oh, no, roads are like that. I said, you know, we drove at a time when there were less roads and more khaddas. Now we are used to a good road, and that's why khaddas are coming into our focus. So, you know, the latent needs of the society is addressed by these innovators, by these entrepreneurs. It creates wealth and supports accelerated growth. As I told you, lateral thinking always accelerated growth. I gave example of Edward de Bono, and it creates wealth. I mean, there is a very good story on this innovation by in the Colgate history. They wanted to improve the. I mean, it's not a very positive story, but still, I'm just trying to give this story in order to show how small innovation can make accelerated growth. So this they wanted to kind of the growth of toothpaste cell was based on the normal growth and so on and so forth, because people will brush twice, maybe once or twice, and so much of toothpaste they'll say. So they started, how can we improve the cells? Now some guy came out with a suggestion. He says, increase the diameter of the tube slightly, and they increased the diameter of the tube, and the consumption of toothpaste suddenly increased. It made an impact of, at that time, this was some, I think, 15 20 years old story. They found that it impacted the sale, improved the sale by almost $1 billion. And that guy was, of course, rewarded nicely. So, innovations, entrepreneurs, and this guy, I mean, according to me, he was doing a job, but he was entrepreneur. He was thinking differently. Another important thing positive about entrepreneurship is freedom and independence. You decide how you want to do the business. You are not bound by the normal, stakeholders and all that constraints you have. There's a story of this company called Bose. You must have heard this. They make these speakers, and the best quality speaker. He never ever uh, let the control go out of his hand. I'm not saying this is ideal, but this is the story. And he only thing he said is that I am pumping a lot of money in R&D, and I have to pump. If I am publicly owned company, I will be constrained by the norms of the business plan and ROI and all that. I don't care. I just want to improve things continuously. So he used to pump hell of a lot of money in R&D. So because why? Because he was an entrepreneur and he had a freedom and independence to define things. So these are the four things which come to my mind as positives. Negatives, huge chances of failure. Huge chances of failure. As my friend told me, out of 10 investments he done in startups, eight fail and two probably grow. And many times the gestation period for the success is very long. So you need a huge patience, huge patience. Uh, I mean, typically the growth, if you take time on the x-axis and success on the y-axis, the growth will be like this, very parallel to the x-axis. And suddenly there will be inflection point, and then it will start growing. So that gestation period can be very wrong, and it tests the patience, and that is why many times this company, the startup, fail because they do not have sufficient funds to sustain that long. So, so that was about pros and cons. What defines the success? I This is something definition that based on my experience I put it, and it is subjected to correction. I define entrepreneurship success as a function of two things: asset and attitude. Attitude can be also mindset. So I define es equal to as into ad. What is asset? Asset, it can be, asset basically is something which you can define. It is definable, visible, measurable. Funds, for example. Idea, definable. It's visible also, you can see the things which are. Attitude, it's not measurable, it's not visible, it's not definable. So as they say in Vedanta, this is whereas asset is gross, attitude is sukshma, sthula and sukshma. And always you will find the subtle, the sukshma is always more powerful. And it is the research from Harvard Business Review suggests that the success of entrepreneur depends overwhelmingly on the attitude factor. Overwhelmingly. It doesn't mean that asset is less important. I mean, as I said, the company, the startup that failed, we were short on the asset, and that's how it failed. Attitude was there, but it happened. So it depends on both, but overwhelming dependence is on the attitude. And as per Harvard Business Review, attitude is everything in entrepreneur life. Everything. And so is it in life. Attitude is everything in life, and attitude is everything in entrepreneurship. And attitude, by the way, is a very, very, very big subject. And there are tons and tons of things written. One of the very good books that I recently read is by an author called Ian Leslie, which is the title is Conflicted. And it focuses on the attitude of an innovator. And it basically, it gives one of the example that is quoted was Wright brothers, which will come to later on. But what it is tries to tell you that the conflict is very, very important. But there are two types of conflicts. One conflict is how to do a job. I may think it should be done like this, somebody may think like this. This is a very healthy conflict. But the conflict due to status, I am right, you are wrong, that conflict is negative. And when you have positive conflicts, which is an important factor, attitude, and we will see later on how this impacts. And this person has beautifully written this book, one of the books that I will very strongly recommend to the students to understand uh, anything that you're doing, whether it is study, whether it is your career, whether it is life, whether it is relationship, conflicted. There's an excellent book to go through. So attitude is something which is important. Now, in the attitude, there are five factors which are defined, and we will go through that. The first is passion. Entrepreneurs should be passionate about the ideas, goals, and of course, their company that they are forming. This passion is what drives them to do what they do. Now, we have to understand what really passion means. Passion means not kind of infatuated and creating negative. Passion leads to positive stress. Positive stress means what? You're continuously thinking about it, conscious or subconscious mind. You probably will dream about it. Yeah, and like our ex president Abdul Kalam said, dream is not what you do in the sleep, dream is what you do in the daytime. You dream about it all the time. That is passion. And passion you need in everything that you do. Even negative things that you do, you require a passion. If you are a thief, you have to have passion to learn those tricks. We should not be doing that, but passion, whether you want to build your career, whether you want to build your company, whether you want to build your relationship, without passion it doesn't work. And so passion is a very important factor of entrepreneurship. Second is bravery. Bravery is not being strong and fighting a war. What it means, entrepreneur like everyone else feel fear, and this fear of failure is very, very dangerous. I have seen people not doing things which they can do just because they think they might fail. And this, if you have fear of failure, don't be an entrepreneur at all. Just don't get into that, because the uh, the failures are part of the entrepreneurship, part of the entrepreneurship. And keep in mind, success motivates, failures teach. Failures always teach. If you are not managing the failures, you are failing in your life. One of the definition of a learning organization, you might have heard this word, a learning organization. Learning organization is defined which handles failure and manages failure positively. And what is a positive way of managing failure? Positive way of managing failure is basically learning from it. So they they the failures actually make them work even harder. The entrepreneurs, I failed, I'll do it better. I know some of the really wonderful startup owners. They work like crazy. They really work like crazy. There have been discussion about, of like some comment made by Narayan Murthy, 60 hours, 50 hours. That is that it's not the statistics that we're talking about. It's the passion that is important. What they were really meant, possibly put it in the wrong way, is that the passion is what is really necessary. The third one is flexibility. Entrepreneur experience setbacks, as we do in life everywhere. We have setbacks. There are hurdles that we have to overcome in this journey. No idea is perfect in the beginning. No idea. It needs always fine tuning and course correction. Flexible entrepreneurs should be aware that they may have to modify the route towards their established goal. That means directional correction, or even perhaps tweak the established goal, completely change the goal if necessary. That is the flexibility. And flexibility comes only when we have this mindset, uh, or attitude of saying, saying that I am always right. If you have this attitude that I am always right, don't touch E of the entrepreneurship. Nobody is always right. Nobody. Jack Welch, the great guy from General Electric, who increased the revenue 100 times of General Electrics, he used to say, "I probably my success rate is 70%. That means 30% decisions are wrong." But he used to learn from the success, and you learn from those failures and use it to improve his success. So this flexibility, many times we have this attitude, I am right, you are wrong. That is inflexible. I am right, you are also right. Let us discuss, let us find out. And this is called the difference between vad and samvad. Samvad is something where you use the conflicts, the differences in opinion, in order to improve the idea that you have in mind, and that flexibility is what is required. Third important thing: strong work ethics. You cannot say that I will work only on 5 days a week. It is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. That is how, if you do not, if you have passion, then only you have the strong ethics. When you are starting a company, chairman to doorman, you are the same. You have to do everything. You have to do everything. And if you are not prepared to do that, uh, then don't even touch entrepreneurship. So this strong work ethics is extremely important. And the last thing that I would suggest important for on the attitudes, the integrity. Integrity is basically what makes people trust you. If people think, even if you fail, if people think, no, you are honorable person, you mean good, you want to do good, then people will come to you. Because at the end of the day, you require somebody's help. Stakeholders are always there. You require society's help, you require customers' help, you require suppliers' help. You were sometimes short of money in paying for whatever bills are there. How does it work? Oh no, don't worry, the bill will be paid because I am trustworthy. The question that is, how do you develop that trust? Trust is actually earned. Trust, respect is really earned by people. And then whatever, it's like I am saying nobody will listen. But if the prime minister says, it will get immediate importance. Why? Because there's a trust in him. There's a story of J.R.D. Tata when he established Air India. In the initial, and Air India, when he established, that was entrepreneurship, and it was a passion that he had for that. So in the first 1 or 2 years, he was improving whatever, and he had given one very strict instruction to all the staff that whenever I travel in a flight, I should be treated as a normal passenger. I am not the chairman of Air India or whatever. I should be a normal passenger. So in one of the flights he was flying, and of course he had a seat and all. And later on, he went to the restroom toilet, and in the toilet he took very quite some time than normally, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, or whatever it is. After he came back, the stewardess came to him, sir, can I disturb you? He said, yes. Is everything okay? And he said, yeah, everything is okay. No, sir, you were in the toilet for long. Oh, that. She said, oh, toilet was not clean. I cleaned the toilet. Now, this story is in their book by R.B. Lal, which he has written a biography of J.R.D. Tata. And then the R.B. Lal says in that book, after that, no toilet ever in Air India was unclean. So one attitude of this thing changed the things because he was respected. He earned the trust, he earned the respect. So we can earn respect and trust through our behavior. Be honest. Like Narayan Murthy. Narayan Murthy is a story of Infosys when he listed it in New York Stock Exchange and it was going well. There was one very big customer which was 30% of the revenue of that 30, or I don't know how many, 25% of the revenue. And that customer suddenly withdrew. And then they discussed in the board and they said, oh, it is very dangerous to publish this. And Narayan Murthy took a stand. No, it has to be published. Even if it will create destroy value of my company, I don't care because I have to be honest. And that is how Infosys's image was created. It was a bellwether. When Narayan Murthy's and those guys were Nilakani were running it was a bellwether. Whatever Infosys did is what everybody used to follow. So actually, Infosys, biggest one of the biggest contribution of Infosys was to create respect for Indian professionals in the Western world. And this was because it was honesty and all. So this integrity, trust is extremely important. And as they say, the best business idea in the world is likely to fail if an untrustworthy person is at the helm. So my last slide, I'm sorry I'm taking a little bit more time than I thought. Uh, a common underlying theme on all these five things that I talked about are necessary in the attitude, which is an overwhelming factor in success of entrepreneurship, is innovative spirit. An innovative spirit is a compulsive attitude to do things differently than the established norm, challenge the status quo, and dive deep into the why of the things. Why the things are like that? Uh, like many people saw the apple falling. Only one person asked a question, that was Newton. Why it is falling down? Why it is not going up? That's when the Newton's law came in. So all the great innovators only started doing that. Even if you read the story of Einstein, how he came to the special theory of relativity, it was also the way he asked a question, why. Very interesting story, but we don't have the time right now. So that's something, my personal take with which I will end. Entrepreneurship must be an integral part of our life. And the reason is that the innovation we can make in life to make living fun. So I hope I have possibly communicated that demystifying entrepreneurship. I'll stop here. And Riddhi, if there are any questions or something, please.
Thank you for putting up the ideas and developing the entrepreneurial mindset and navigating the innovation journey. So if you are definitely going to take advantage of this. There is particular time that we are going to take a couple of questions. One
Yeah.
is how should student led or grassroots level startups approach problem identification in
So
communities
please,
with
you're,
limited. Yeah.
I'm not able to hear you properly. What is the question, please, again?
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So how should student-led or grassroots level startups they should approach the problem identification in the communities with limited access to technology or structured data? So problem identification in communities, how should they go about it?
Yeah, as I said, you have to be all the time watching things. All the time watching things. You have to see what is what issues are there and what can be done. I mean, like some people started this. I heard it in Gujarat, um, creating water reservoirs, and he was recognized by the government of India for creating that water reservoirs. He identified the society needs are there. There are less rainfall. So he just said that, no, I want to do something about it. So this urge to do something, to urge to improve things is what will help you to identify opportunity. If you're the question possibly is focused more on the developing a business in order to make profit. That's different things, and there are many ideas depending on the field that you're working in. I was working in agrochemical. We identified at that time digital farming as one of the ideas, because we found that people are just using the spray conventionally, whether there is a disease or no disease, and we said, okay, can we predict the disease? So predict a disease, then we can do something. So these are the type, you have to continuously study things in the field of your interest, whether it is education, whether it is science, whatever you're talking about. Continuously, there is no kind of a SOP to say that this is the way you will identify an opportunity. It's a mindset which helps us to identify the opportunity. It is an urge to do something differently which helps us to opportunity this thing. I mean, I know all the startup owners, they had a chance to do the normal job, but they identified the opportunity and did something in their field of. I cannot identify opportunity in AI because I do not have that skill. I could identify an opportunity where I have studied in agriculture, agrochemicals or chemicals. So identify your field, increase that knowledge, identify your interest, increase that knowledge, study about it, and go in finding out what can be, what how things can be done differently and better. That is how it will help.
Yeah, so, and there is one more question. Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
In your experience, what are some common mistakes that early stage startups or early stage entrepreneurs they make during the validation phase, and how they can avoid these challenges?
Come again, what are the challenges you're talking about?
So, in your experience, what are some common mistakes that early stage
Ah,
startups or entrepreneurs they make during the validation phase, and how
right,
can they avoid it?
right. One of the things that and one thing that makes leads to the failure is a short of funds many times, and people have very kind of romantic ideas of the revenues, very romantic ideas of the revenue. So you always need a mentor who has some kind of business experience, and he says, no, 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 I mean, this, it will not grow like this. And think of something, um, I mean, think of the money, think of the way you want to increase revenue, think of the way you want to go to the market, and so on and so forth. But another thing that I have seen, another failure in the failure of the startup is that those guys love the idea so much that they are refusing to see the downside of that idea. So there is no inflexibility. They think they are right. They are going to go whatever, and that time, and that is where they fail. They are not prepared for the course correction. If somebody is indicating a course correction, if their attitude of I am I am right is not the attitude. I am always right is the attitude. So there has to be a kind of humility in saying that no, I could be wrong. Let me listen to what they're saying. So two things: you have to have some kind of a small business plan that look, I have 100,000 rupees. My run rate or my burn rate is so much, so I can survive for next 5 6 months. In next 5 6 months, I have to do this. If it doesn't work, I have to have a course correction. And second thing, if you are going on that, if you want to grow, your mindset should be listening for course correction.
Thank you, sir. Uh, Thank you for sharing your ideas on entrepreneurial mindsets and helping students to have a successful, innovative journey. And uh, I personally liked your idea where you drew the comparison between complementary comparison between optimism and pessimism and how they both equally contribute. And I also want to thank to all the viewers for joining us today, and we encourage you to reflect what Girish ji has contributed in the session today, the takeaways, and apply them in your ETL journey. And as mentioned earlier, we'll continue to run every second Thursday of every month, and will be followed by mentoring hour session or the third Thursday of every month. And we look forward to your active participation in Knowledge Hub, in Mentoring Hour, Tinkerpreneur, and upcoming School Innovation Marathon. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Riddhi. Thank you, Prerna, and thank you all the people who participated. I hope I could get across you. Entrepreneurship is a very, very big subject. I tried to cover it more focused on the attitude, and I hope you take something not only in your what you're doing, but in your life also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening to all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.